Foothill College is committed to providing access to education for all students, regardless of disability. Students who register with the Disability Resource Center may be eligible for testing accommodations. Examples of testing accommodations include extra time, use of electronic devices, notes, calculator, or dictionary. This short video will address many of the common questions that faculty have about the testing accommodations process. The testing accommodations process provides a streamlined way to coordinate testing for students who need accommodations. However, the success of the testing accommodations process depends upon all of us doing our part: students, staff, and faculty. The testing accommodations process involves a specific sequence of events during each quarter. Between 1 week before and 2 weeks after the start of each quarter, students register with the Disability Resource Center to become eligible for testing accommodations. The Disability Resource Center sends an accommodations notification with details about each student's accommodation needs to faculty and students via email. Within 5 business days of receiving the notification, faculty contact the Disability Resource Center with any questions or concerns they have. Then, within 10 business days of receiving the notification, the student meets with his or her instructor to discuss accommodations and coordinate testing. After 10 business days of receiving the notification, faculty are expected to complete and submit the acknowledgement form. Faculty will receive 2 reminders via email, 14 and 28 days after the original notice. Faculty can ignore these reminders if they have already submitted the acknowledgement form. Then, the student schedules exam dates and times at least 1 week in advance of the exam date. If a student with a registered disability is enrolled in one of your classes, you will receive an accommodations notification via email within the first 2 weeks of the quarter. Email messages to faculty are only sent to official Foothill College email addresses. Review the specific academic accommodations listed in the notification and contact the Disability Resources Center staff with any concerns or questions you have about the accommodations. The Disability Resource Center advises all students to contact instructors within 10 business days upon receiving the accommodations notification. Both student and instructor receive this notification at the same time. After reviewing the notification, meet with your student to better understand his or her strengths and challenges, as well as logistical issues involved with accommodated exams. For example, if you teach an evening class and require proctoring services from the testing center, your student will have to start the exam earlier and end no later than 7 p.m. The Disability Resource Center needs you to submit an acknowledgement form for record keeping. Use the password provided in the accommodation notification to access the acknowledgement form. Complete a separate acknowledgement form for each student using the unique password for that student. Submit the acknowledgement form in order to confirm that you received the notification and have been in contact with the student about accommodations. The Disability Resource Center informs all students who request accommodations that they must meet with their instructors before scheduling exams. The acknowledgement form also gives you an opportunity to let the testing center staff know how you want testing accommodation to be addressed for this student. The password is created by combining the 5-digit CRN of your course, the student's first name, and the student's last name. Type in the password and then click on the next. Check the accuracy of the information that is pre-populated in sections 1 through 8. In Section 9, acknowledge receipt of the notification and indicate whether or not the student has met or contacted you. Students have been informed via email, in person, and with text messaging that they must meet with you in order to receive accommodations. If they do not meet with you, they may not receive their accommodations. Please indicate if the student has not met with you in 10 business days. If this is the case, you do not need to complete the rest of the form. In Section 10, indicate if you agree with the accommodations or you want to discuss the accommodations with Disability Resources Center staff. In Section 11, indicate if you want to proctor tests on your own, use the testing center, or both. We encourage faculty to proctor their own quizzes that take under 10 minutes to administer. If you give a pop quiz and need accommodations during the quiz, let the testing center know the date and time of the pop quiz and attach the quiz to that email. If the student chooses to use the accommodations for the quiz, respectfully release the student to take the quiz in the testing center office. If you plan to lecture after administering the quiz, remember that you may not lecture while the student is not present due to testing accommodation. If you lecture while the student is taking the test, then the student has not been given equal access to the course material, and it is a potential violation of the ADA. If you administer the quiz at the end of the class session, be sure that the extra time for the student to complete the quiz will not prevent attendance in another class. If you plan to administer and proctor testing accommodation yourself, meet with the student to review the student's schedule and determine if there is a scheduling conflict. For example, if a student's accommodation is time and a half on a test and your class testing time is an hour long, then the student must be given an hour and a half to complete the test. If the student has a class directly after your class, this will prohibit equal access to the course following yours. If there is a scheduling conflict, you and the student should make arrangements for the student to take the test when it will not conflict with attendance in other classes. If you plan to use pop quizzes, the best way to avoid awkward situations is to communicate early in the quarter with the student who needs extended time. Together, you can develop a workable solution for everyone involved. Remember, accommodations are always negotiable, but if an accommodation is not provided, we must be prepared to document and justify our actions and be ready to explain why an accommodation was not provided. If you want your students to use the testing center, complete sections 12 through 17. For tests that you want proctored at the testing center, list testing dates, start times, and allotted time. Allotted time refers to the amount of time the entire class is receiving for the test. Please note that the testing center is only open limited hours. If you wish to proctor tests on your own, you do not have to complete these sections. Instead, you can just scroll to the bottom and click Submit. Let the testing center staff know how you plan to deliver the testing materials to them for each test. Hand-delivered at least 24 hours in advance, via email, hand-delivered to the hub on the Middlefield campus, proctored online test, test uploaded with the acknowledgement form. Indicate how you want the testing center to return the test and test results to you. Indicate what types of material you will allow this student to use during each test, such as Blue Book, Scantron, dictionary, or calculator. If you decide to upload tests to the acknowledgement form that you want the testing center to administer and proctor for you, be sure to label the files and documents in such a way that the testing center will know which test the document belongs to. Indicate what materials you would like returned to you. To be able to return to this form at a later time, click on Save and Continue at the top. Click on the Submit button at the bottom when you are ready to submit this form. A copy of your submission will be emailed to you. Students have responsibility to submit requests for accommodation to the Disability Resource Center each quarter. Contact instructors within 10 business days upon receiving the accommodations notification. Meet with instructors before scheduling exams with the testing center, and arrange for disability-related accommodation with the testing center at least 1 week before taking the test. Disability Resource Center staff assist students in completing the accommodation request form and address any concerns or questions that faculty have about the accommodations notification. Staff in the testing center review testing accommodation requests from the instructor. Contact the instructor if there are any questions and coordinate with students who schedule accommodated testing. The cooperation of faculty, students, and staff is vital to the success of the testing accommodations process.